Alright guys, so in this video we're going to be talking about the Scourges that you can use to amplify your score, the difficulties and what each one is going to mean in conjunction with the Scourges, and then I'm going to show you my recommended teams. You're not going to have all these teams. I tried to use older characters, not new characters, but some of them are a little bit niche, and then we are going to work on solving more mainstream teams live. But these are the teams that I found that work the absolute best because I do obviously have a very big roster to work with. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get into it, and we'll start by looking at the Scourges. Now, just like the War Scourge, the experimental serums aren't worth it. That maximum health, not great. Not so fast. Literally not so fast. Let's go back and see that again. When a non-minion player character gains ability energy, apply slow. This does affect your War Dog / Wakanda team, and it will also affect your Bionic Avengers. Lots of energy flying over there, eh? So there's workarounds for that, and especially in conjunction with other Scourges like the immunity on spawn. There's tricky ways we can get around that, which is pretty cool. So it's not a very influential Scourge. It doesn't give us a lot of points, but it's not very difficult. We're not going to go into that much detail into all these. Otherwise, the video will take forever. On enemy death, enemies gain offense up. Not worth many points, but not very difficult to deal with either. When a player character dies, enemies gain 2 ability energy. That kind of stops you from doing burn attacks. The only real burn attack I had slated was on node 1, and you'll still be able to do that because you're only going to throw in 1 character to get that done. It's just pull Mystique ult, and then Mystique, her ult takes a lot longer to get up, so the energy she gets from 1 character dying will be fine. Unkillable. When an enemy drops below 50% health, they gain death proof. This one's very easy, but when you use it with other ones, it's very difficult. And I'm definitely going to have to do like some kind of grouping of these Scourges and put them up in like a meaningful way for you guys to digest this a little bit more. And I will do that once we get through this. When a player character uses their ultimate, they gain blind. That one's not so bad. There's a lot of ability ones. If you're going to use one ability one, you might as well use them all. On enemy healer's death, all enemies gain regen. You won't really notice that regen, so that's a pretty free one. When an enemy character gains ability energy, they gain offense up. That's pretty niche again, so that's pretty free. When a player character uses their special, they gain ability block. We just spoke about the other one that gave blind. When a non-minion player character gains offense up or defense up, apply heal block to them. There's a couple anti-healing Scourges, and if you're going to use one, you might as well use them all. When a non-minion player character's health drops below 50% health, apply trauma to them. That one's really tough, and I would almost consider that one an anti-healing one. On an enemy striker's turn, they gain 5% barrier and flip offense down. That's not very difficult. It's not worth many points either, though. Non-minion player characters, healing is reduced by 20%. Again, an anti-healing one. If you're going to do one, you might as well do them all. While ability blocked, enemy characters gain 15% damage, crit chance, crit damage, and speed. That one's pretty tough, especially when you're putting ability blocks out. Like we have the legendary section. You're going to be using Morgan. There's ability blocks there. Rogue special. Ability block there. Omega Red has ability blocks in both of his abilities. So this can bite you in a way that you don't really see its effects, but you definitely feel it. It's worth 15 points though, so it's a pretty good one to put on. Non-minion player character special and ultimate abilities cost 1 more. I'll call that one like an anti-ability one as well. When a non-minion player character takes damage, they gain minor bleed. The bleed doesn't hurt as much, or at least it doesn't feel like it hurts as much as other Scourges. Now we start getting to some interesting stuff. So when a fortifier character uses an ultimate ability, spread all the positive effects to adjacent allied characters. I didn't notice this too much on the enemy team. There's definitely some enemy fortifiers, but they're not placed in such a way that it becomes too big a problem to deal with. So this might be something that we get to use to our benefit, and it's definitely going to be something I'm going to use when I'm looking at other mutant teams, besides the one I'm going to suggest, and see if that in some way can be incorporated to help us. On enemy fortifier spawn, gain taunt. You're going to see why that's a nightmare in a little bit. When a positive effect is applied to an enemy character, increase the duration of all positive effects on that enemy by 1, up to a maximum of 3. So they get buffs real quick. And that's when it rains. We'll be moving on. When we're moving on, there we go. Zombification. I couldn't tell if this one was broken in the playtest or not. But on spawn and on turn, enemies gain death proof, and on end of turn, if enemy has 5 death proof and no revive once, remove all death proof from that enemy and gain revive once. So the way this worked on the playtest is it actually removed all the buffs, not just the death proof. I didn't report that because it worked for our benefit, so I didn't want to report that. But it was kind of funny because the enemy would die. You killed them the first time, right? They would die. They would come back, and if they took one single turn, they would instantly get revived once again. So what you had to do is you had to kill the enemy and then immediately kill them again before they took a turn, which could be very difficult. But yeah, it was very difficult. This would be one of the last ones you put on, just to make your life a little bit easier. Energy absorption, this is another really tough one. On enemy character's turn, remove all negative effects and heal for 10% per negative effect removed. This is similar to Stage 6 in Crucible, the legendary stage, where they cleanse everything. I'm talking everything. Stuns, ability block, everything. If you don't have trauma, they're going to clear it, and they're going to max heal off it, pretty much. So keep in mind, if you have heavy debuff comps, you may not be able to use that Scourge. And then we got a bunch of minion stuff. This is free points. You're going to put this on to make your life easier in the minion section. In nodes 5, 6, and 7, there are some annoying minions, but I don't think these Scourges are what's causing them to be annoying. So I wouldn't hesitate to put these on. It's worth too many points. And it's going to help your minion section out. All right, strong opener. On spawn, enemies gain immunity. This one is more manageable in this Death Scourge than it has been in previous Scourges. Just because of the teams we're using along the way. Vanguard, when an enemy character has taunt. So remember, a fortified enemy is going to spawn with taunt. If you have both of these attached, then all enemies are going to gain 15,000 armor. So you got to get those taunts off the enemy characters. And then on enemy turn, they gain minor offense up. So we saw a bunch of like clustering things, right? We saw a lot of different offense up when we kill somebody, when they flip it. On their turn, they can get a minor one. So that would be like a grouping of things that if we're going to put one on, we might as well put them all on. I kind of feel the same way about the ability stuff. If you're going to make your special put ability block on you, the ultimate put blind on you, you might as well put both and make it so that they cost one ability energy more. If you're going to put the anti-healing ones, do that. Maybe that's how we'll group it. So hopefully I've edited it onto the page right now. And then we'll let it count down to 5 so you guys could read it, screenshot it, whatever you need to do. That sounds like it was 5 seconds. That feels like it was 5 seconds. Let's continue and talk about difficulty. So notice difficulty 7 is giving you 850,000 with 0 Scourges. Difficulty 8 is going to give you 860,000, so a very small jump. And then difficulty 9 is going to give you 880,000 jump. So again, very, very small. So now let's start applying some Scourges and see the difference, right? So they kind of got the math right this time, actually. Let's fast forward this a little bit so we see it going on. There we go. So that's all the Scourges except for zombification and the healing ones. Or sorry, the extra % life ones. That's what I did in the guide. That's why I wanted to show it to you here. So in difficulty 7, that'll net you 1.45 million points. If you do the exact same Scourges on difficulty 8, it's going to get you 3.17 million points. That's obviously a huge jump. That's more than the 14,000 or whatever it was, right? So Scourges are exponentially giving more points for the difficulty higher. And I think that's important because if we look at this, difficulty 8, I did it in my guide. It was very easy for my roster. But if we go over to difficulty 9 now, difficulty 9 is tough. And it goes up to 4.1 million. So in theory, what I'm probably going to do for my max run is I'm going to do difficulty 9, and I'm going to be shaving off Scourges, but making sure I stay above that 3.1 million run. And for the record, in my testing, I could not get past node 5 on difficulty 9 with enough Scourges on to overdo difficulty 8, which was very interesting and an obstacle I'm personally going to have to take over. But just word of caution, difficulty 9 with Scourges on, not for the faint of heart. So with that out of the way, suggestions for difficulty, it's going to depend on your roster. There's no other way around it. Difficulty 8, I found I was killing characters really, really quickly. Difficulty 9, it was like an even playing field with the enemies, which is obviously very dangerous in some sections in particular. And some I didn't even get to test, right? Because I got stopped node 5. So keep that in mind. And when you are approaching your difficulties, nobody wants to build minions. Understand that your minion section does not need to match your other sections. Like if you need your mutants, at level 90 to accomplish whatever you're trying to accomplish, your minions can probably get by at level 80 because of the benefits they're getting from these Scourges and from the stat squish on the enemy team. So don't jack up your minions right away. Go in there, see what they can do, and jack them up according to what your other teams are able to accomplish. But with that said, let's go ahead and jump into it. I'm going to show you my recommended teams. I know I already put a video out on the Ravager team, so yes, for the Mutants, I love Ravagers with Riot Guard and Merc Lieutenant. I think this is by far and away the best team. The control that you're getting on buffs from Bruiser, the speed up offense up from Lieutenant, and the constant defense up from Riot Guard can't be overhyped enough. It is such a game changer compared to a team like Shield, and I was only able to test those two, so I don't know if AIM, Hydra, or Kree won't be good. I don't know how they'll fare. I assume they're going to have similar issues that Shield had when you're applying lots of Scourges. And then Boomer and Stitcher are just over there popping people off with that offense up from Merc Lieutenant. Merc Lieutenant might be the key, though. Maybe try subbing him into your other minion teams. All right, so that would be nodes 1 and 2. Now let's look at node number 3, a Heroes node. We're going to be using this node to prep our Uncanny team. Don't use your abilities from your mutant members. Just kill everything with Eternals and get charges on your Cyclops and your Storm. Obviously, I have a more in-depth guide on how to do this properly with some tips and tricks along the way. So if you're having a hard time doing that, make sure you check out that video. Then for node 4, we're going to be doing something very, very similar, except we're going to be prepping Red Hulk. So we bring him in, use his special the first time, and then don't use it again after that. He's going to get charged at some point. Your Icarus and your Cersei are going to have their ultimates up by then, I'm sure, and then just wipe out the node. Squirrel Girl and Jessica Jones are just there to make sure your 3 main characters stay healthy and stay not covered in debuffs. So, yeah, that's a very easy part. That's where the simplicity of the Scourge stops, and we start getting to some more complicated territory. And then for node 5, you're basically going to be using War Dogs if you're doing like a lot of Scourges. Mechanically, Nakia is just really good at buff stripping, then defense down and buff stealing with 1 million. Just it overpowers what M'Baku and Killmonger bring, which I know is not something a lot of people wanted to hear being their new characters. That's probably why I'm stuck on node 5, because I only have these characters at 5 stars. But yeah, they're definitely better. And then let's just quickly talk about Bionic Avengers. So Wakanda for sure on node 5. Sorry, War Dogs for sure on node 5. If you are using a lot of Scourges. Bionic Avengers didn't really hold up for me with lots of Scourges, and they ended up being a burn team on node 10 to take out the single Echo, which I know a lot of you don't want to hear, but it is what it is. So yeah, T4s and ISO8s here, they struggled with the Scourges, similar to the way S.H.I.E.L.D. struggled. I know you don't want to hear that, but they still are necessary to get through node 10 with lots of Scourges on, because node 10 is an absolute beast, and your War Dog team is not going to be like full life after tackling node 5 if you're like pushing your roster's your strengths. Okay, actually all these T4s are wrong. Sorry, the ISO8's wrong. I'm going to edit that out. No, never mind. You didn't hear that. Okay, it's all good. It's all edited properly. Now the mutant section. This is where we're going to get very controversial, and you can see why right here. X Factor with X23 and Emma for the first mutant node was the only team I could use to get through the node cleanly and healthily. So it was a one-shot. It was very clean. I tried a bunch of other teams. They struggled. I did not try Death Seed because I did not have that available to me on the playtest. I had my live roster, but it wasn't updated to have Nemesis and Dark Beast on it. I will try them live, and we'll see if they can hold water. I'm hoping they can, but I'm not sure. I tried Marauders, just didn't work. They couldn't get through the nodes with heavy Scourges healthily enough, and I really needed Emma to survive for the next node. So these are the characters that got through the cleanest, but hopefully we can find other answers. I'd love to find an unlimited X-Men hybrid answer with maybe some Uncanny members, because those are teams more people have built. It's a Horseman team. Uncanny was a little bit more popular than X Factor was. But yeah, and the T4s you see here, and the T4s you've seen this entire time, guys, they are basically recommendations for the Scourge mode. Not for your Bionic Avengers and Raids, not for your War Dogs and War, not for your Eternals everywhere else, your Red Hulk everywhere else. This is just the like essentials for this Scourge mode. And even then, some of them are not super essential. Like I got the basics on all your X Factor members here. It's very helpful. It's not essential. Just if you're doing a high difficulty, it's going to be really helpful. But by all means, do not go and put like 3,000 T4s into your X Factor because you see this. There's going to be other solutions. We'll figure it out. This was just the most efficient, fast, and comfortable counter I found. Feeds on a lot of speed mechanics. And then for Mutant Node 2, we're not changing much. We're just dropping the Polaris for Storm. We charge Storm for a reason. Storm's going to come in and completely obliterate the first wave of Node 2. And then the X Factor and X23, they get so much speed from the crits and all the damage, they take care of the rest of the node. You notice we didn't use Cyclops here, even though he's charged from that node we did, Heroes Node 3, which is good because if we fail on Node 2 to get a full clean, then we can come in with Cyclops and a couple of the mutants, and he can I-beam them all down, and then you're good. So food for thought there. That is my current mutant section recommendation. I think that'll still be the best team. Will it be the most mainstream team? I think we'll figure something else out on Twitch, so make sure you come and check it out. And then finally, the Legendary section. Some things might surprise you here. Not much, though. So Legendary is Node 1. I didn't have access to Archangel. Well, actually, I did. I just didn't unlock him, because I want to do that with you guys live on Twitch and play with him with you guys. So I'm not factoring him in here. But we do have our 3 unlocked horsemen with Omega Red. I don't think that's a surprise. All amazing characters. So let's talk about the elephant in the room, Nick Fury. Nick Fury is there to give you speed up and defense up on spawn. There's a zombie Iron Man on Node 1, and he's going to make your characters kill you. Use your strengths against you, right? That's the power of zombie Iron Man. Nick Fury helps you deal with that situation before it becomes a problem. And also, he has the lowest health. So all the Gambit pings that are going off, they're going right at your Nick Fury. We're not using him in the next node. That's why he is the perfect fit for the first Legendary node. And then for the second Legendary node, because we're not using Nick Fury, we're going to use Phoenix. Obviously, we don't care about her T4s. We don't care about her ISO weight. She's just there to clear debuffs. That's right, because we're going to be using a lot of ults out the gate on Node 2. She's going to soak up those blinds that we just put on our own characters. If we have certain Scourges running, she's going to die, give defense down. It's going to help you nuke through some nodes, and then you're going to walk on the other side of the Legendary section, which I'm making it sound easier than it is. The guide on that video, I think, is going to be one of the more popular ones because the Legendary section is very difficult as they know we have these overpowered horsemen. I'm curious to see if a 3 yellow star Archangel trivializes it. We're going to find out soon. We're going to find out tomorrow. And finally, nope, that's it. That's actually it. All right, end of video. Goodbye.